They're our first thought when a fire breaks out. But what if those we depend on stop volunteering? We'll find out how Long Island's coping with a decline in volunteer firefighters.
LI News Tonight, with the award-winning LI News team.
Good evening, I'm Lotto Tatiana Lizniak, sitting in for Ken Eckhart with this special edition of LI News Tonight. With most of Long Island protected by volunteer firefighters, we've all come to depend on a source of manpower that could disappear at any time. Fortunately, up till now, lack of volunteers hasn't been a problem. But with free time becoming more valuable to all of us, how much longer will we be able to depend on those who are giving us so much for so little? Imagine your home suddenly catches fire. But when you call the local fire department, the phone just rings and rings in an empty firehouse because there's no one there to answer your desperate call. Here on Long Island, it's a frightening scenario we don't have to face because that call is answered by your local volunteer fire department, which we all depend on to save our property and our lives. And because of their local volunteer fire department, the Guzman family has a lot to be thankful for. Alfredo and Monica Guzman and their 3 children used to live in this Brentwood apartment, which was destroyed by a fire last August. And even though the family is now temporarily crammed into this hotel room, they say they're still extremely thankful to the volunteer firefighters who answered their call for help.
I give them full compliment for giving me, my kids, and my wife, and a second chance in life. So that's about all I really could say about them. I mean, there's a lot of things I could say, but there's only one thing I could really say is thank you.
And when you think that they're not paid, this is a volunteer service. These are individuals who live in our community that are putting in the time and the effort and the energy to protect us. It is truly amazing. I think Long Island has to be very, very gratified by the fact that their lives and their property are protected in times of an accident, in times of a tragedy, by our volunteer firefighters.
Right now, almost all of Long Island is protected by Nassau and Suffolk County's 180 volunteer fire departments. Nassau County Fire Marshal statistics indicate they have between 8,000 and 9,000 volunteer firefighters. The Suffolk Fire Commission says that they have about 11,000 volunteers in that county. But these numbers may not be as reassuring as they sound. In Suffolk County, officials told us while the statistics indicate an overall increase in volunteer firefighters, the Fire Commission questions whether the individual departments have been submitting accurate numbers in years past, reflecting instead perhaps roster maximums rather than actual volunteers. And in Nassau County, the Fire Marshal's office acknowledged flat out that numbers of volunteers are dwindling. For example, here at the Alert Volunteer Fire Department in Great Neck, back in 1970, volunteers totaled 150, with a waiting list to get on the force. By the 1980s, membership was down to around 140, and since the 90s, it's dropped to 136. Not big numbers, but many see it as a disturbing trend.
I think in Nassau County, 20 years ago, we had 10,000, give or take 100 volunteer fire rescue people. And today, we probably have 8,500, about 15% reduction.
Suffolk officials, meanwhile, say the decline is mostly confined to specific areas.
In Suffolk County, currently, there isn't a large problem. So like some isolated communities, there may be problems because it's difficult for young people to live in those communities due to high cost of living. Therefore, without having a young generation in a community, there are less people to draw upon.
Volunteerism is really down right now. For some reason, it's not like it was 30 years ago. The volunteer fire department was the thing to do. Now, a lot of people can't afford to live in Nassau County anymore. People are working 2 and 3 jobs. Kids that go to college, they're going to college away. They're not on the island anymore. And it's very difficult to get people to put the amount of time in.
The areas needing more volunteers might be helped if the problem were county-wide, but it's not.
No, I don't think that volunteerism is a dying thing. I think, if anything else, it's increasing. You know, people want to get involved. We really don't have any problems with membership drives.
So departments with recruiting problems, like the Jericho Volunteer Fire Department, are pretty much on their own in terms of finding new members. 10 years ago, Jericho had 140 members. Today, it barely has 100. And one of the methods for recruiting is through signs like these. Chief Michael Milner is the first to admit that the department has a manpower problem, and he says it aggravates him when others won't admit it.
I find it frustrating that a lot of my colleagues are willing to say, we have no problems. Now, I know differently. I listen to their radios. I see who's on their units when they respond to various different types of calls. I have a lot of friends that, you know, off the record or privately, you're 100% right, Mike, or yes, I have the same problems, but because of politics and the members and other things that come together when you're a chief of department, it's hard to admit that to a group of people.
When we return, we'll take a look at what effects decreased manpower is having on some of Long Island's volunteer fire departments. Stay with us.
The odds of your child touching the stars are out of this world. The chance she'll grow up to be a famous architect is somewhat more down to earth. But the chances are more than 1 in 4 your baby isn't fully protected against childhood diseases. Be sure his baby shots are on schedule. Ask your doctor at every visit. Give your child the chance to be whatever he wants, even if it's a rock star. Even if you're sure, ask again.
On January 8th, Amy Narvajo was saved from freezing to death by the National Guard. Were it not for their employers giving them the time to answer the call, this story might have had a different ending. To every employer who supports the Guard and Reserve, thanks for making us your business.
Nice and easy. Nice.
Most time spent at a volunteer fire department is off time. Fires make up only a fragment of a firefighter's time at the firehouse, so the rest is spent maintaining the equipment, training, and socializing. But while day-to-day life may look normal at Long Island's volunteer fire departments, some fear morale is suffering because fewer people are having to do more jobs.
Me personally, I think it's more stressful because now the guys have to put in more time to try and benefit the community, and if they can't put their time in, then they feel that they've let everybody down. And the morale kind of goes down a little bit because now it puts a lot of stress on everybody else.
And some fear that pushing firefighters to do several jobs may be putting their safety in jeopardy.
You're putting yourself maybe a little bit, working a little extra harder and a little extra longer than you should be. Then taking it, trying to get that few moments to regroup and build your strength back up. So before you enter the fire for the second time, in other words, you're just coming out and changing your air tank and you're going back in, which would be, basically kind of taxing yourself.
One solution to this problem has been an increased reliance on mutual aid, where instead of just the local department fighting a fire, neighboring departments are also called in to ensure an adequate number of firefighters.
5 years ago, a standard working house fire would require just one company to extinguish that fire. Today, that same house fire would require mutual aid from approximately 2, maybe 3 other departments, and today we could lose that house completely.
And while new Occupational Safety and Health Administration mandates are designed to protect firefighters, they're also making life tougher, requiring more firefighters per fire. A difficult requirement when numbers are dropping.
The decline of the manpower situation in the fire departments now has changed response time quite a bit because of OSHA, where they require that you have X amount of people on a truck, where before, especially during the daytime, you ran out of the firehouse with 3 or 4 guys because that's all that was in town. OSHA doesn't want that. OSHA wants that truck to be a fully manned piece of equipment, and you're talking about 6, 7 people.
And that's 6 or 7 people many departments just don't have anymore. Coming up, we'll find out what solutions there are to solve this life and death problem. Stay with us.
Give someone they don't know a gift. They do it because this gift saves lives. And the need for it is desperate. We need over 20,000 people to give this precious gift every day. Please give blood. There's a life to be saved right now. Call the American Red Cross at 1-800-GIVE-LIFE.
The value of a volunteer fire department has always been the money it saves the community. That may be what has to be forfeited, however, if volunteerism continues to decline. But it may come at a high cost to the community.
So when you blow the fire siren now, you're getting $1 million worth of manpower showing up for nothing. If you do the same thing in a career environment, you're paying the $1 million. You're still paying for the firehouse, you're still paying for the trucks, still paying for the maintenance, still paying for everything else. And you're throwing $1 million on top of it to pay for the labor that you're getting for free now.
Here in the town of Oyster Bay, for example, the cost of a paid fire department might have to be handed over directly to the taxpayers.
It would have meant about a $730 increase in his town property taxes if, in fact, it were a paid fire department as opposed to a volunteer fire department. So you can see, I mean, you're talking about a significant amount of money.
But others disagree.
A lot more fire departments now might start getting paid drivers, paid firehousemen that could, leave their job in the firehouse to go to a call. And basically all they're around for is to supplement what the volunteers do.
Another option mentioned would be to pay firefighters per fire call, with that expense passed on to the taxpayers.
In other states, we have departments that are volunteer. They get paid, for example, $10 a call. And that is a money incentive to get people to join.
Or to attract more volunteers, new incentives could be created.
And I think a tax credit offered in New York State to volunteer firemen could really be a very attractive offer to people in joining.
The easiest solution, obviously, is to ignore the problem, continue to depend on volunteers, and deal with whatever crises develop when there aren't enough firefighters for a fire. But that easiest solution may come with the highest price tag.
The decline in manpower has affected our response time. Our response time has increased, and with the increase in response time, it could mean somebody's life, whether it be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever. It could mean somebody's life.
If you or anyone you know want to volunteer for the fire department, all you have to do is call. It's a job that will require sacrifices in time and energy, but those who do volunteer say they're minor compared to the lives that could be sacrificed in a fire. As the volunteers say, they hope the next time they get a call from you, it's not to report a fire, but to ask, where can I sign up? And that's it for this special edition of LI News Tonight. I'm Lada Tatiana Lizniak, sitting in for Ken Eckhart. Thanks for watching, and have a good night. Tell me, why are you not a volunteer fireman?
Oh my God. I don't have the time.
You know what? I don't have an excuse, but I mean, I have no time. I mean, if you take, 12-hour day minimum, and then, I have to 8 hours sleep or whatever, that's 20 hours right there.
Why do some people like to play basketball and people like to play hockey? People like to do certain things. I don't know. I don't like to put out fires, and I'm glad there's people who do.
I'm so scared of fires. I mean, if I see them, I'm out the picture the other way. But, I mean, I would do it if I didn't have a fear.